Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yeah, really interesting mod has just recently dropped on the workshop which adds in BANDHA. This is a rather unknown bloodthirster unless you've read through the end times, but very popular when it comes to 30k and a little bit of 40k too, as he is the commander of Khrorne's legions. He's actually one of the most hyper-intelligent bloodthirsters in the lore, even though he still makes a lot of stupid decisions. But yeah. So what this mod does is adds in a new playable legendary lord, a new playable faction. So if you don't want to play a Scarbrand who's stuck in the south and kind of suffering for it, and you want to campaign up north in the Northern Chaos Waste, this is definitely going to be the one for you. And keep in mind that when downloading this mod, it says that there's another thing that you need to download. Don't, that's just the Chinese translation, as the mod itself is actually in English. Anyways, we're going to jump right in directly to the faction effects, as obviously this is a new faction, and you can already see it's very similar to what you can expect. You get 88 skulls per turn, which is already really good. Diplomatic relations with everyone else, except for the Warriors of Chaos and Khrorne, is -10. Diplomatic relations with Khrornate factions plus 30. Campaign movement range plus 15% after winning a battle with all characters, and immune to snow attrition for all armies. Already you've got some decent ones. You can see Cabana over there. We'll have a better look at him later on in-game because these displays aren't really the best. When it comes to unique traits, Cabana has the following benefits: campaign movement range plus 25% after raising a settlement, casualty replenishment plus 15% for Lord's army, which is absolutely amazing, and finally, Khrorne corruption plus 4 for local province. Already you're going to be in a very good spot there as, the casualty replenishment, very beneficial as you're going to be moving a lot. This is a Khrornate faction. With regards to the generic red, blue, and generic yellow skill line, it's very much similar to what you can already expect. Well, identical in the most cases, and this is going to be very helpful. Reducing the upkeep for your units is going to be very beneficial to you, considering that the Khrorne stuff is kind of expensive, and at the beginning, money is a little bit difficult to come to. However, you will notice that there are a lot of skill lines here, one of them being another yellow one, and this is focused around a Khrornate rune system. So, this is an interesting thing, right? It's kind of done in the same vein as rune magic, so you've got the same restrictions as rune magic, and it just adds in some buffs and bombardments, all that different type of stuff. It kind of makes sense for BANDHA in most cases. I think BANDHA would employ some extra boons for his army, and hell, even some blessings from Khrorne, considering how well respected he is by the other bloodthirsters and how high up the food chain he is in general for the bloodthirsters. It adds a lot of extra damage, and it just makes you have some sort of extra spells, essentially. But it's not a spell because it's not done with winds of magic or anything, but I think it kind of adds in a little bit of help to the Khrornate faction because, well, let's be honest, they kind of lack with it. This is what I was saying a while back, that Khrorne could really use with like a warrior priest type of character, just to add in a little bit of extra defense or buffs or just a little bit of damage. The only thing I'm not too keen on is that pretty much every one of the Lord and Hero options get a stripped down version of it, and I think it's fine. It's just a personal thing. Obviously the modder must have had some direct vision for this mod, so I can't really complain. At the end of the day, it's someone else's work. But you can easily ignore it if it's something that you're just not too keen on, really. Going back to BANDHA, he does have his own unique skill line, which heavily focuses on boosting him up and also your bloodthirsters, because BANDHA was known to like travel with a contingent of bloodthirsters. It's actually kind of interesting. So you get them to be really powerful. There is a new Bloodthirster unit, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but as you can see, you can get the Vanguard deployment on your own troops, you can get Vanguard on BANDHA. There's loads of really good bonuses overall. Hell, the Bloodthirster stuff, if you want a Bloodthirster Doom stack, obviously you won't be able to do that very early on, but later on in campaign, you can, and you can even get them to have like recruitment time reduction, so you can even just get a lot, and I mean a lot, of bloodthirsters. The last 2 points of that skill line is a choice. You can either have one or the other, and they're all really strong. Cabana is very powerful, so it makes sense for him to be able to buff up his armies like that. Anyways, whilst we start moving on, you can then start looking at the items. There's 5 unique items. They're all linked up as a set, and again, very, very powerful. Keep in mind, again, BANDHA is the strongest Bloodthirster out there. He's more in status than Skarbrand at this point too, so it makes sense for him to be just horrendously overpowered, and his army that supports him being quite supercharged, but the rest of your armies will still be very much the same, unless obviously you do the tech and all that type of stuff. But in general, it works out really well. I think that the character starts off okay, then gradually gets a lot stronger to the point that, yeah, it kind of makes sense for him to just be really, really, really strong. Overall, yeah, big fan. And I'll be honest, it kind of kills off the monotony from Skarbrand. We need more choices for the monogods, let's be honest, we do need more, but they'll come in the future in the form of DLC, it's just the waiting game at this point. What you would have also noticed by this point is some other weapon options that fall in the vein of mount options essentially, but this is new weapon choices, and this is going to affect his stats. This is going to change him visually a little bit. We're going to go over that a little bit later on in this video, but I'm a big fan of this because I really wish we had this in vanilla. I've said this in a previous video. It would just be nice if we had like visual weapon options and stat changes and stuff. It would reduce the need of loads of different of the same lord and just having, you know, changes and stylized stuff for your own armies depending on how you like to play. So I'm going to take the time now and talk about the campaign itself, because I had a few hours to play last night as I couldn't sleep as usual, so I was able to do quite a lot of damage. It's actually quite an interesting campaign. Even if this wasn't Cabana and all the mod did was move Skarbrand, you can already tell a drastic difference. It's also really, really nice just to have a character, a demonic character up north, because, yeah, the Warriors of Chaos are pretty much all over the place, but it's so drastically different. The Khrorne faction with Skarbrand is a bit meh, because the distance between all the settlements and, in general, the little bit of a nerf to movement and all that. So being up north where everything's a bit more tighter feels like a faster moving campaign. Getting all the Khrorne mechanics just kind of works a lot better here. Bloodletting is definitely a lot more useful because you're able to get into a lot more fights. And already here with Cabana, the character himself is really, really good. You do start off with a new type of unit that we'll talk about later, but in general, being so aggressive is interesting. You will be fighting against pretty much everyone. Even Valkyr will kind of cause problems and try to fight you. Malice is obviously going to be a big issue at the very beginning. Sigvald too. Sigvald is quite aggressive, but it definitely feels a lot more fluid than the Skarbrand campaign, which is why I'm really, really enjoying this. It's just nice to be able to move around, have a lot of areas with high corruption anyway, or a place that you can already start spreading without too much of an issue and not being dogpiled from all different sides, which I think is a massive issue with Skarbrand at the moment. But yeah. Then if we go to the character specifically, like, he is very, very strong. We'll talk about the runes a little bit later, but the idea is just like without the rune system, like, you're already doing a lot of damage. So very much on par or a little bit stronger than Skarbrand in terms of damage output. Also having him being able to fly is very, very helpful. The runes, buffs, or whatever you want to call it system, yeah, it's cool. I wish that it was just with Cabana. This is just a personal thing, because with everything else it's just kind of strong. I've been ignoring it with other characters, but in general, this is a really fun campaign. Then again, I've been enjoying Khrorne a lot. Hell, in Realms of Chaos, I actually put Khrorne as my strongest one. I mean, this is turn 30 on a fresh campaign just to have a little fun. It's not the one that I actually been playing myself. And you can already see you take a lot of territories. I have been using skulls to colonize at least a few settlements here and there, because obviously that's very beneficial to start spreading more corruption. But yeah, a lot of territories. Malice is fine with me because I gifted him a settlement and he was just generally chill. Anyway, the new unit is another Bloodthirster variant, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. You've got the other one there just to compare the stats, because the new one is focused more on being a type of fast attacker. Having Vanguard is also pretty interesting. Just being able to have like a full 20 stack of Bloodthirsters, having variants to just kind of do something different, is really, really nice. Now, Cabana himself looks great. I know he doesn't look like the Forge World Horus Heresy miniature, but he actually looks more like the artwork that we had for the End Times. Very small amount of artwork. It's literally just his head, I think. But yeah, no, he looks great. He's got great stats all around. Like, he can fly too, and I think that's a massive benefit because, you know, Skarbrand is stuck on foot. he is really, really strong. And we start getting all the different variants in, because obviously he does have different loadouts for the weapons. He changes visually too, which I think is a massive plus. It's a great mod. So you can have him with however you feel like. Keep in mind that when he does fly, he will kind of have like a little visual glitch where weapons could be missing, but you're mostly going to be using him for foot damage anyway, so that doesn't really matter. I'm a big fan of this mod. I think it's absolutely great. Literally, it's just nice to start seeing faction mods come out again, because faction mods just bring a lot of life into the game. I'm a really, really big advocate for these types of things, because we're waiting for DLC, let's be honest. But until then, and let's be fair, yeah, I don't think BANDHA is ever going to get officially introduced. It's just one of those things, because he's a character that he's end times tied, and it's possible, it's very, very possible, but yeah, let's just leave end times out of it until the time is right for that, I guess. Either way, the mod is something really, really cool. If you like playing as Khrorne and you want another monogod faction, since I know a lot of people are disappointed that Valk here is not monogod, this is definitely the mod for you. It's down in the description below as usual. And again, if you're going to download this, I have to stress this out, don't download the other mod that it says that you need to download, as that's just the Chinese translation. The mod itself is in English. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about the BANDHA faction. Let me know what you guys think about the character himself in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion.